And so, for example, here is a compass. And here is a proportional divider. And with the compass, all I have to do is just, for example, I can come in here, measure from the line to, let's say, the crease of that eyelid there. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to measure to that crease right there. And then I can come over here and measure from here and to that crease. And you'll see I got it right on the money, even though I eyeballed it because I was using negative space. And so it's good practice to look at the shapes of the negative spaces to improve your ability to actually draw what you see without, of course, having to use tools. But if your thing is not the initial sketch, like I said before, your thing is the actual painting or drawing and shading and manipulating of that, then maybe you don't want to spend so much time sketching out the original, and so you want to utilize, of course, all these tools that are available for you. But if your thing is, hey, let me see how well I can eyeball this thing with my thumb, and you measure distances like, okay, there's the bottom of the eyeball to the lid thing, and then you transfer it over to here. You see what I'm doing? I could do that too, but you know what? That's boring. It's boring for me, sorry, but it's boring for me. I can do it. Now that I know I can do it, I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to draw. I want to recreate is what I want to do with graphite. And so I'm going to use whatever tools I have available. So this is called the grid method. It's very simple. Just go ahead and whatever you see in these squares, duplicate it on your drawing material, whether it's a canvas or if it's drawing paper, just duplicate it and then get all the detail you can. The more detail you can get in here initially, the easier it is for you to recreate your art. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Now, the other technique is similar to the grid, but it utilizes less lines. And in this case, let me go ahead and zoom out. You can see what I've done here is I've gone from corner to corner, and then from the middle on both sides. And everything intersects in the bottom. The advantage to this method is that there are less lines to deal with, so there's less erasing or having to cover up. The disadvantage is that it takes more time to get all the proportions correctly because you have less reference lines to measure from. And so here I've already duplicated this on my paper that I would be drawing on. And so to use this, for example, I would use, let's say, the compass again, and I would come in here, and let's say I want to start with the eye. Well, I can start from the middle of where all these lines intersect, and I can measure right where that eye starts, which is right here. Then I can come down here on my paper, put a little bit of mark right there, and I can see that my eye is going to start right here. And then here I'm going to eyeball things again. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a little more eyeballing. But then I'm going to go, okay, how far is it from, let's say, this line to the end of the eyeball? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to have some kind of a mark just to show me how far the eye is going to come out to. How high is it going to be? Well, let's see. Okay, if I know it's going to be out this far, then I'm going to come out here with this from the end to the same spot, which was right there. I'm going to go from here to right there, and that's where it is, right there. And then of course I can just complete the connection here. And if I want to figure out the slope of that eye, I can get that in there like so. Like so. Make the connection here. And then I notice that it then becomes quite aggressive right here. And it comes down like this. I can see that again, I'm using negative space here. I can see that it comes in like this. Comes in like here. And then, let's say I may be eyeballing this thing a little off. How far out does the iris come from the line here? I go from the line to the outside of the iris. I go from here to the outside of the iris, and I see that I was a little short. So I'm going to adjust it out a little bit more, and so forth and so on. And then, you know, my pupil. So that's how you would use this kind of method. Okay. Personally, I don't like this one. I've done a few this one that I learned in a book, and I didn't care much about it. It's personal preference, but I do like the grid better, but there's more lines. I hate the fact that there's more lines because it's just more cleanup to do. Another way that I will do this is if I don't want to draw on my reference, like I showed before, I'm going to use this transparency, print the grid on the transparency, and then I'm going to tape this on to my reference photo at the top. That way, when I'm ready to draw, I can lift and look underneath, because the lines get in the way of some details sometimes. And this is my favorite way of doing it when I'm using the grid method. However, I happen to like using a light box as my favorite way to do this. And if you don't have a light box, they're not very expensive. I highly recommend them because it will, I dropped my compass here, sorry about that. It will speed up your initial sketch work right away. You get one of these light boxes like the Light Tracer. Now, I originally purchased this light box for other kinds of projects. It had nothing to do with drawing. So I was happy to realize that, hey, I can do more stuff with this light box. And it would be just like if you were to use a projector onto a canvas or paper, as the many old painters used to do with their optical tools and so forth. Again, I'll let everyone else debate that. And here, what you would do is you would simply put your drawing material. Now, this is not going to work for canvas, by the way, but unless you were going to use tracing paper, and then you can use the tracing paper and put it on the canvas. Then you can use the light box. But you would use this like so. You turn on the light box, and look at that. Now you go ahead and trace everything. Ba, 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 ba. And I did that. I ended up with, well, you probably can't see that, but there it is right there. You can see that. See? I can get all the main details that I want utilizing this light box, and I'm done in 5 minutes. So I don't want to spend an hour or two tracing out this, which is, to me, the part that's not any fun at all. And I just want to get the initial details down here so I can go to work with my coloring and my shading and my blending and my erasing and my detailing and all the things that is what I want to do to make art. I don't like to do this part. And so the light box is a real savings tool for me. Now, I also had mentioned the proportional divider tool. So let me get this light box out of the way here. Here's the proportional divider, and this is a really handy tool when you want to take a reference, for example, this reference here, and you want to make it bigger or smaller if you want, but I don't know anyone who wants to make something smaller. But if you wanted to make it, let's say you want to make it bigger than 8 by 10. Well, I could take this 8 by 10, turn it into 11 by 14, a 20 by 30, whatever. All you have to do, you get one of these proportional dividers, and it's adjustable. And when you're measuring from, let's say, the nostrils to the eyeballs here, then when you want to go to your paper that you're going to create your artwork on, then you would use the bigger size, for example, for plotting where the nostril and the eye is. And it will actually enlarge your copy of the original. Very handy tool. You can even use it just like the compass. Just go from here and then go over to your drawing material, your drawing surface. Not making it any bigger or smaller than it is. Just use it as a measuring tool. But if you want to enlarge it, then you can use the other end of it, and you can adjust it to make it even bigger or even smaller, 50% bigger, 100% bigger, 200% bigger, and vice versa. If you want to make things smaller, you use the big end, go like this. Then when you go to the other paper, you would use the small end to actually draw it in there, and that will shrink the drawing itself. Last but not least is, and I kind of mentioned it, is using tracing paper. Now, I'm going to go find me some tracing paper. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Here I got some tracing paper, see? And what tracing paper is, it is a very, very thin paper. Easy to see through. And what you can do is you can put your reference inside of the tracing paper. Then you can trace everything out. It looks just like the Lightbox, doesn't it? So it's actually going to require one extra step than if you just use the Lightbox. But again, if you're doing canvas, you can't use the Lightbox because no light will go through it, or not much. So here you would trace out all your detail, for example. Then you would take your tracing paper, and on the back side you would get some really soft graphite, a graphite stick or something, you know, that's easily erasable. So that's why I probably wouldn't use charcoal. I'd just use really good soft graphite and just draw all over, just all kinds of graphite. And then when you go to your drawing surface or painting surface, you trace over with a pencil over the drawing that, you know, the sketch you already put here, and the graphite that's on the back will transfer onto your drawing surface, which is fantastic, which is one way to do it. Another way also is that if you don't want to be doing, you know, having to put all that graphite on the back of your tracing paper, you can actually buy the graphite sheets such as this right here, which is these thin sheets that have graphite already on them. It's kind of like the old copier paper where, you know, you used to write on them like for checks and stuff, and it would transfer onto. But this one here is erasable because it's graphite. You can put your sketching paper right on top of it with this on the bottom instead of, you know, marking the back of your tracing paper with graphite. Then you trace over it and it will transfer onto whatever. The only thing is don't press too hard. If you press too hard, you'll have a hard time erasing this off of your drawing or painting medium. Well, if you like this basic drawing tutorial video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't done so already so that you'll be informed of my next video. And thanks again for watching. Comments below. Bye.